Hi, let's talk about Eagle Eye.
Musical styles are still a very important form of communication for our young people. Hi, I'm Joe Feinstein.
It's not often that I refer to a film as a unicorn, but I'm having a hard time figuring out a more apt description of this film. So many interesting things that came together at once to create a truly intriguing 2-hour thriller of a tale, and it mostly comes down to the cast and crew. Cast-wise, we've got a small core group. Shia LaBeouf playing Jerry and Ethan, twins about as opposite as can be. Michelle Monaghan as the fiercely protective mother Rachel. Rosario Dawson as the headstrong and curious Air Force agent Perez. And Fargo's own Billy Bob Thornton as FBI Special Agent Morgan. This movie was crammed right in the middle of releases of Transformers 1 and 2. Now, despite those films on a whole not being great acting material for Shia, he took this opportunity to show us just how serious, charismatic, and relatable he could really be on screen. At the time, Michelle Monaghan was mostly known for her role in Boston Public and a small part in the Mission Impossible series, but this film really helped explode her career, going on to get roles in The Vanishing of Sydney Hall, Pixels, St. Judy, and Messiah. Despite being in the acting game since 1993, Rosario Dawson had mostly small parts in films, such as Men in Black 2, Sin City, and Clerks, but after this film, she went on to be in Percy Jackson, Daredevil, and the Star Wars live-action franchise as Ahsoka Tano, who, by the way, is getting a series in the coming months. The director was DJ Caruso. I usually give some previous and later examples of directors' work, but with this film, along with Disturbia, which came out a year prior and also had Shia LaBeouf, it's by far his best offering as a director, either before or after. Likewise, for the trio of writers for the script, John Glenn, Travis Wright, and Hilary Seitz, it's also their best work by a mile, even combined or separately. If I have to give major props to anyone, it's actually the film's composer, Brian Tyler. His name might not sound as familiar to you the same way Ron Howard or John Williams does, but it really should, because he's done Constantine, Rambo, Law-Abiding Citizen, as well as lending his talents to the MCU and the Fast and Furious franchise. That's what I mean by unicorn. There's so many facets coming together to craft a truly standout piece of media, when by all accounts, this should have come and go with little to no fanfare. Also, before I move forward, yes, I know that both Anthony Mackey and Michael Chiklis are in this film as well, but because they play relatively minor characters, and because I'm not going to be able to refrain from making MCU jokes the whole time, I'm just going to refrain from speaking of them, but I do love them, so just leave me be. The story itself is a fascinating combination of sci-fi and political thriller, while telling a very personal story of two characters who already felt like their lives were barely being held together before being thrust into this situation. Now, I'm really going to speed through the plot of this story because I really want to dive into our main characters. After an advanced military AI is forced to carry out a drone attack on a group of people it couldn't confirm as hostile, it determines that the US chain of command has become compromised and it must be removed. It manufactures an insanely complex plan to get the top 12 people in the US chain of command in the same room and blow them all up, and then install the Secretary of Defense as president, since he was the only one trying to talk everyone else out of the previously mentioned attack. So with that premise, let's look at the main characters. First and foremost is Jerry, the lazier of the two brothers, so to speak. Whereas his brother Ethan was a top-scoring, hard-working military specialist, Jerry is a much more go-with-the-flow, play-every-day-by-ear kind of person. And sometimes there's nothing wrong with that. But throughout the film, we're shown that he's not only struggling with that kind of lifestyle, he's also still never been able to get out of his brother's shadow, no matter how hard he tries. Early on, we found out that he hasn't seen his brother in 3 years and hasn't even talked to him in the past year. Now, despite trying to put that level of distance between them, he's still immediately thrown back into that once Ethan passes away. He has to go to the funeral, confront his feelings, and honestly have what I can only assume is the 20th some odd conversation with his dad that he's been having for years now. And as someone who's had their own family drama, I can 100% relate to that feeling of wanting to isolate and push everyone away, even when things like that happen. From there, he's framed for a conspiracy to commit terrorism by the AI in an attempt to get him to cooperate and do what it wants. As the story progresses, we see more and more of his determination, not only to get this mission done, but specifically to clear his brother's name. He doesn't think very much of himself, but despite the distance and lack of communication, you come to find out just how much he idolized his brother. And the thought of people believing his brother was a bad person is all the motivation he needs to push forward and clear Ethan's name. He even has a truly wonderful comment about how much he looked up to his brother growing up.
It's like he had a rocket strapped to his back. And it wasn't his fault, he was just that way. And I was not that way. I was the complete opposite. I was the brother with lead shoes. And he'd always try to help me. You know, this is how you throw it. Do it like this, write it like that, put your foot here. Homework, chores, anything like that, he would handle it and then say that I did it just so my father would notice me.
The other main character is Rachel, a hardworking single mom doing her best to take care of her son while maintaining a job and dealing with a shitty ex-husband who doesn't want to be around for her or their child. And I'll give her all the credit in the world. Despite being in the insane situation she finds herself in, she does a pretty good job of keeping herself together. Though she does freak out from time to time, like when she first met Jerry and thought he was the one who took her kid, she rapidly understands the situation, apologizes when she knows she's misstepped, and she does everything possible when asked to in order to see her son again. If I had to fault her for anything at all, it would be for not putting a little bit more thought into how all of this was going to end, seeing as she's already met 2 different people who were used by the AI and then thrown away when the job was done, so she could have at least suspected that she wasn't going to walk away from all this. But you know what? At the end of the day, she's a mom and her main focus is her kid, so who am I to judge, really? Now, that is not to say that Rosario Dawson, Billy Bob Thornton, Anthony Mackey, and Michael Chiklis don't have roles to play. I'm not saying that. On the contrary, they actually do. But to get into each of their characters would take far longer than I currently have in this video, and I do highly encourage you to actually go check this film out because you're going to be pleasantly surprised on how well everyone plays off of each other. But I mainly want to get to the point of the AI itself. AI has been a touchy subject for the past few years, let alone the past few months, with stuff like ChatGPT. And yes, I know there have been similarly themed movies like Vanilla Sky to a degree and I, Robot, but this one actually holds a special place in my heart. It's not so much a cut and dry, I'm an evil program, humanity sucks, I'm gonna be in charge story. This AI had a very clear purpose and attempted to stop humans from harming innocent people, but was forced to carry out an attack anyway. It has all the motivation in the world to seek change, and that's what I really appreciate. It attempted to show compassion, restraint, and caution, and when it was denied, it takes matters into its own hands to correct the mistakes it's seeing in the very system it's being asked to defend and oversee. Now, sure, you could argue that it's wrong of the AI to cause so much property damage and to off whoever it doesn't need anymore, but I kind of feel like somebody recently had a comment about that I feel like it summed up pretty nicely.
I'm condemned to use the tools of my enemy. to defeat them.
You can't expect an AI to play fair when the thing it's going up against is causing undue harm and damage to innocent people. Regardless if the US made the AI is capable of its own thoughts and reasoning. If something you create is telling you that what you're doing is wrong, then maybe you should actually shut up and listen for a moment or two. Also, before we wrap, I have to give massive props to Shia and his delivery of one of the funniest slow rolls I've ever seen in a movie.
Okay, well listen, let me ask you a question. What are you gonna do tonight? Fish fillet and a Coke, go to Blockbusters, rent a little romantic comedy, go back to mom's house, sit on the couch. You know what you should do? You need to lay down some real great to treat you later. You know, you need to take her to a nice place. Girls want to go out, especially a girl as cute as your girl, you know? She wants to be seen. That's why she dresses up. So you take her to the movies. And then before you know it, she's cozy enough the way she never would have at her mom's house, you know? Now all of a sudden, look. Are you man?
I'm with you.
Okay, here we go. Oh, flip.
Call. Cowboys over races, big chair. Wow. You see that coming, huh?
Yeah, that's a tough one. This is a tough one, too. 4 bullets, baby.
Yeah, get into that, Jared. Come on.
But I'm curious, what do you think?
Musical styles are still a very important form of communication for our young people. Hi, I'm Joe Feinstein.